Welcome to Module 6, using Generative AI and Writing Reflectively. What is Generative AI and how can it help in your learning? Well, it's classed as a large language model, a collection of language that is beyond our understanding. It is able to create new content, but that's based on prompts, and those prompts can be textual, they can be image, it can be data. Some examples of generative AI that's available to us: ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity. What are the applications? Well, it can effectively summarize, paraphrase, it can help in brainstorming. It can simplify text, analyzing topics, it can provide literacy advice, offer conceptual understanding. It can synthesize information from sources, and it can do much, much more. But we need to be very careful with how we use it, why we use it, and making sure that we apply a critical lens to what it offers us. Please remember, Gen AI is to be used ethically and responsibly. Don't forget, university assessment tasks are designed to evaluate your thinking, your learning, and your experience. Gen AI can support preparation and refinement, but must not be used to create the outcome. We want to see what you know, not what Gen AI knows. Large language models are not live bibliographic databases. They are trained to predict plausible text based on patterns in their enormous amounts of data. This means it's very good at producing things that look real, but it invents DOIs. It mixes details from multiple papers. It assigns the right authors to the wrong year or even the wrong journal. It can also provide the wrong version from a book, not the original text or article. It does misread and misinterpret data. It will provide partial or inconsistent metadata. So, as such, Gen AI cannot be relied upon. Please remember this. It is crucially important. You need to critically evaluate everything that you receive from generative AI. In terms of Curtin University's position on the use of generative AI, well, Curtin supports ethical, transparent, and critical use of AI. It's certainly not banning it at all. We genuinely believe it can help and support your learning and development. However, students must declare when AI is used, if and when it's required, and where it is permitted. Now, that permission will be invariably through your unit coordinator or unit outline. It will tell you what can and what can't be used. Your role, your job, is always to refer to Curtin's current academic integrity and AI guidance pages. They change and will change. So, Curtin University says students may use GenAI for general study purposes. However, how to use it within assessments should always be discussed with unit coordinators and your lecturers, and reading through the unit outline, as I said before. And here are 8 ways generative AI should not be used. Submitting AI-generated work as your own. Replacing your thinking, your analysis, and your judgment. Circumventing assessment design. You need to follow those rules. Fabricating or guessing information sources. This requires you, as we've said before, to apply this critical lens, and you need to go in to make sure that the information sources are correct. Now, paraphrasing to disguise plagiarism is unacceptable and unethical. We want you to do the paraphrasing, not Gen AI. We mustn't use Gen AI to provide reflection or personal narratives. Of course, they need to be yours, and it is of crucial importance in health professions. Making authoritative claims beyond your knowledge. And bypassing academic language learning and development. Fundamentally, getting it to write your essays for you. So, 8 ways that Gen AI mustn't be used. Please be very careful. But Gen AI can support your academic reading. It can summarize paragraphs of text. It can help you understand specific terminology. It can help you to provide focused topics, or even generate key questions. But generate key questions, it's your role to answer those key questions by going into the literature and exploring. It can help clarify difficult language or complex theories. Very useful. But again, do not upload copyrighted journal articles or PDFs into generative AI. Always check copyright and license conditions. You are not able to share content with generative AI if it's against the copyright and licensing conditions. You should prefer to use Curtin endorsed tools and what the library offers. These protect privacy and comply with copyright licenses. You don't want to go against those. So, contact the library or copyright services for guidance. And again, generative AI can support you in your academic writing. You can use AI to brainstorm structure, to create argument flow, or even provide topic ideas. You can use AI to rephrase sentences to make sure that you understand that sentence if it's from text, or if you're providing the sentence. But always verify and rewrite in your own voice. We want to read you and your understanding, not generative AI's understanding. You can use AI to check your grammar and to simplify language, as we've said before. But again, It's your job to review all changes carefully to make sure that the meaning and the tone is appropriate. And remember, AI can produce biased or inaccurate content. So critical evaluation is absolutely essential. And you are responsible for verifying that information. So let's think again about these different ways GenAI can support a university student's studies and writing. Well, the first one, understanding and simplifying complex reading, breaking down dense journal articles. As we've discussed before, journal articles can be intense. So an element, a paragraph or two that you really don't understand, you can ask generative AI to give you a clearer understanding. Again, it's got to be limited, or you've got to make sure that the copyright rules are followed, including chapters from books or technical reports. You can ask GenAI to provide it in plain English explanations, but again, you are limited into what you can upload into GenAI. So, as I've said, this can only be achieved through uploading texts that are legally allowed to be used. Academic writing structure and genre guidance. GenAI can help with essays and literature reviews, reports, reflections, case studies, and what this structure is for these, and what goes into each section and why. But again, it's helping you, it's guiding you, it's not replacing you. You can ask GenAI to help to improve your academic style and clarity. But as we've already said, we fundamentally want to hear or read your voice, not GenAI's voice. But having said that, it can help you with your voice. Now, critical thinking and argument development, it can help you to refine your research questions. It can help you to develop claims and consider counter-arguments. It can also provide strengthened analysis, a deeper analysis rather than just a description. Again, there's an however. Students must always apply their own critical lens to everything. We've talked previously about synthesizing information, and GenAI can help you to synthesize. But as we already discussed, it can't be trusted. It can't be relied upon. So any information that you're bringing into your writing, you've got to make sure it's from an appropriate and correct source. It will help with your academic literacy, language support, and learning. It can explain grammar or academic vocabulary. It can talk about reporting verbs, linking language and terms. I mean, very much that we've talked about through these programs. It can help with referencing and academic integrity support in terms of explaining how APA 7 or other styles of referencing are used. But again, be very careful. And in terms of study skills and assessment literacy, it helps to interpret assignment questions. This is probably a very important thing, possibly one of the most useful things. It can help you to understand exactly what you are being required to do for an assignment. It can help you unpack the marking rubric. It can help you in planning your timelines and exam revision strategies and reflective learning tasks. So, as we know, it's an amazing tool and it really can support your learning and development, but needs to be achieved in an ethical and appropriate manner. Let's summarize what we have discussed over the last 15 minutes. So, responsible AI practice checklist. Use AI as support, not as replacement. Always verify content against the academic sources, making sure that those academic sources are accurate. You need to cite AI when you use it. Always respect those copyright and privacy rules. So, you should prompt the LMS to provide links to all the materials and references, and then go through one by one to confirm that the source material is correct. And remember, you shouldn't submit AI-generated text as your original work, present AI-produced analysis, argument, or conclusions as your own thinking, obscure or fail to disclose substantial AI contributions where disclosure is required. And doing so, if you do any of these, this is false authorship and will be an academic integrity issue. Generative AI provides an amazing array of tools to support us both professionally and academically. However, we must always use it wisely to support our personal development, as it must never replace our own learning and understanding. Now let's talk about reflective writing. Reflective writing is an important element of your academic life, but also your professional life. So what is reflective writing? Well, it's a form of academic writing focused on learning from experience. And it is common in health and other professional programs. And it often links theory and your practice and your personal insights. And why is reflective writing important, and why does it matter? Well, it helps to develop critical thinking and self-awareness being very important in a professional setting, encourages lifelong professional learning, and supports professional competence along with ethical practice. Writing a reflective journal, report, or self-inquiry as a health professional requires critical thinking, self-awareness, and structured reflection on your experiences. The goal is to analyze personal learning, professional growth, and the impact of experiences on future practice. Now, here are the key requirements. So what are the key components of reflective writing? Well, the first is clarity and professionalism. So you are using clear, concise language, not academic writing. This is your voice and your way of explaining, but it needs to be in a professional manner. There needs to be honesty and clear self-awareness, which means that you are acknowledging your strengths, but also areas that perhaps need development, along with personal biases. Critical thinking is an important element of reflective writing, so you move beyond just describing something to analyzing and evaluating your experiences. And in many cases, you need to link your reflections to theory or ethical considerations and best practices. And you are required to consider your future learning and future actions. How will these experiences shape your future decision making? The ethical and confidential considerations. Obviously, you need to maintain confidentiality. So invariably, you do not use real patients' names or any identifiable details, unless you are required to, of course. You need to follow the institutional or professional guidelines that you're provided for reflective practices. Now, there are 2 or 3 critical reflection models that are used extensively in professional settings. Many reflective journals use structured frameworks such as Gibbs' reflective cycle, Kolb's experiential learning cycle, and Driscoll's WSW-NW. Let's have a look at what this means. So Gibbs' reflective cycle is a detailed cyclical model with 6 stages: introduction, description, feelings, evaluation, analysis, conclusion, and action plan. Now, this Gibbs reflective cycle is used extensively in health settings. Kolb's experiential learning cycle focuses on learning through experience in 4 stages, and those are concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. And Driscoll's SW-NW is what happened, so what, and now what. Very simple. So here, let's focus on Gibbs' reflective cycle, and we'll have a look at the structure of reflection. Now, as I said, we need an introduction, so briefly introduce the experience. Describe what happened by providing a factual summary of the events or experience. Who was involved? Where and when did it happen? And what was your specific role? Second is feelings. What were you thinking and feeling? How did you feel before, during, and after the experience? Were you confident, nervous, uncertain, and why? What emotions did others express? And how did those emotions impact you? Third is evaluation. What was good and what was not so good about the experience? What went well? What could have been improved? How did your actions impact the outcome? And how did the experience compare to your expectations? Fourth is the analysis. Why did it happen this way? So, what factors influenced the situation? For example, communication, knowledge, stress. Were there ethical or professional dilemmas? What were they? And how does this experience relate to theories, policies, or best practices? Number 5 is the conclusion, and that is, what have you learned? What key lessons did you take away from this experience? What would you do differently next time? How has this experience shaped your professional development and growth? And the action plan. How will you improve in the future? What will you do? What steps will you take to improve your skills, develop your knowledge, or improve your approach? Are there any training or research or mentorship opportunities that you can pursue? And how will you handle a similar situation next time? Okay, those 6 levels of reflection. Let's put them into practice. Here we have an example of some reflective writing. So, the introduction. 3 weeks ago, a 19-year-old male had an accident on his electric scooter while riding home from university. He was taken to hospital by ambulance where he remained for 3 days. He is now at home and wishes to return to university and his studies as soon as possible. The description. I treated a patient who had been involved in an electric scooter accident, resulting in a fractured forearm and a strained shoulder. The patient was referred for post-acute physiotherapy to address pain, restricted range of motion, and functional limitations affecting daily activities. Early sessions focused on pain management and gentle mobilization due to the patient's visible anxiety about movement. Feelings. Initially, I felt cautious and concerned about causing further injury or increasing the patient's pain. I also noticed some frustration when progress appeared slower than he or I expected. At the same time, I felt uncertain about how to balance protecting the injured structures with encouraging active participation in rehabilitation. Evaluation. A positive aspect of my approach was that the patient felt listened to and reassured, which helped establish rapport and trust between us. However, I recognize that my early reliance on passive manual techniques limited the patient's engagement and confidence in using their arm. This may have unintentionally reinforced their fear of movement. Analysis. On reflection, evidence-based physiotherapy practice emphasizes the importance of active rehabilitation and patient education, particularly following trauma-related injuries. By prioritizing passive treatment, I missed opportunities to promote self-efficacy and functional recovery. Incorporating graded exercise earlier could have addressed both physical impairments and the patient's fear of re-injury, aligning more closely with contemporary patient-centered care principles. Conclusion. This experience highlighted that while manual therapy can be useful in the early stages of rehabilitation, it should not overshadow active strategies that promote independence and long-term recovery. I learned that addressing psychological factors such as fear and confidence is as important as managing physical symptoms in musculoskeletal rehabilitation. And finally, the action plan. In future similar cases, I will introduce graded active exercises earlier in the rehabilitation process and provide clearer education about tissue healing and safe movement. I will also regularly reflect on my clinical decision-making to ensure my interventions support both physical recovery and patient empowerment. Okay, that is a clear example of reflective writing. So, that's the end of our success program. Hope you have found it both interesting and useful. We wish you the very best in your academic studies, and remember to reach out to English FOHS at curtin.edu.au for any extra help or support. Take care and see you around.